Hello, this is a continuation of my discussion of culture, this one the first of a set of three, dealing with non-material culture. Non-material culture refers to the patterns of beliefs and behaviours which both describe how a particular group of people live and define how they feel they ought to live. It comprises commonly accepted rules of behaviour, that is, norms, sets of values and beliefs, and expressive culture. The present video will deal with norms, the next with values, and the third with beliefs and expressive culture. From earliest childhood, human beings are confronted by a complex web of rules of behaviour that they're expected to follow. These rules may vary across a society according to social status and role, as, for example, with different social expectations for girls and boys, and between different social groups, issues which I hope to deal with in future videos. Sociologists refer to social rules of behaviour as norms. They may cover everything from how we greet each other to the kinds of clothes we can wear, what kinds of food we can or cannot eat, and who we are allowed to marry. We can divide them into four types: mores, taboos, folkways, and laws. Notice that the first three words are here being used as specific sociological terms, that is, sociologies. So first of all, mores. Mores are major rules of behaviour that are regarded as vital for the effective functioning of society. They are rules of moral behaviour, and those who break them are likely to be subject to extreme condemnation by other members of the society, if not actual punishment. Many social mores are supported by law, as in the punishment for crimes such as murder and violent robbery, but some depend more on social pressure, as in the rejection of public nudity at most social events in many countries, or in public displays of affection, even between a husband and wife in some conservative societies. Mores can change over time, of course. Thus, public display of affection between husband and wife was actually forbidden in 17th century Puritan New England, but of course nowadays in modern American society is regarded as quite normal. A particular form of moral rule are those associated with taboos, a term originally derived from Polynesian cultures, and for sociologists referring to an absolute prohibition against particular practices. Many cultures have food taboos, including the Jewish and Muslim prohibition on eating pork, and the common Western revulsion at eating dogs or cats. Although not universal, most societies also have a taboo against cannibalism, and certain kinds of sexual behaviour, such as incest, are commonly tabooed. In all cases, the taboo carries strong emotional charge, so that many British Jews and Muslims, for example, would refuse to eat bacon under any circumstances, even though it is common practice in mainstream British society. The third category of norms are folkways. These are relatively trivial rules of social behaviour. For example, in Britain and the United States, people are normally expected to come to an appointment on time and to offer a convincing excuse if they're late. Again, they're expected not to swear at strangers unless provoked. Those who breach such rules of social etiquette, someone wearing casual dress or Mickey Mouse ears to a formal dinner, for example, are normally regarded by others as rude, inconsiderate, or eccentric rather than immoral. Offenders may be subject to gossip and ridicule, but they're rarely punished. As with mores, folkways can change over time. For example, when I was a child in Britain, it was considered normal for men to open doors for women, but now it isn't. Finally, there are laws. These are formal rules established either by the state or hallowed by tradition, as in such customary law traditions as the Albanian Kanun. They can be legally enforced by the state or relevant authorities. A related concept is the lesser rules and ordinances devised by many organizations, including the military, many corporations, and educational institutions. These are inherently contractual in nature. By becoming a soldier, you agree to live under military discipline, and by joining a school or company, you agree to abide by its established rules. Punishment in these cases is administered by officials in the organization and focuses on what is essentially a breach of contract, as in a military court martial or the deliberations of a student disciplinary committee at a university for not following exam regulations. Organized sports provide many examples of both folkways and specific regulations. For example, in tennis, you're expected to shake hands after a match, and in many games you can be given a yellow card or even a red card for a sporting offence. People vary a great deal in their attitudes towards laws and lesser ordinances, in large part because the arbitrary nature of such rules is more apparent than in the case of mores, taboos, and folkways, which we have internalized since childhood and thus take for granted. Thus, a new law, a mandatory speed limit for drivers, say, or the American prohibition on the sale, production, or transportation of alcohol from 1920 until 1933, may be ignored by many people. In general, laws are most likely to be accepted when they support or reinforce existing social mores and customary practices. As social values change over time, laws and ordinances may come to seem outdated or be opposed by social activists, as with the overturning of former prohibitions on homosexual behaviour that used to be enforced in many Western countries, or the regulation of married women's property in 19th century Britain. American prohibition provides a very good example of the contrast between a law and the social mores of a large section of the American populace. Thus, on the one hand, the authorities were busy destroying alcohol whenever they could, whilst on the other, many citizens were finding ways of avoiding the law, such as getting medical prescriptions for the use of alcohol or breaking it secretly. Then we have the contrast between official and customary law. In societies in which there are significant differences between the official laws upheld by the government and customary law based on tradition, conflicts may occur, as when various governments have been confronted by village elders who seek to enforce harsh punishments for infractions of traditional rules regarding marriage and sexual morality, in contradiction to the actual law of the state. Again, upholders of customary legal process may claim jurisdiction, as has happened in the United States, with some religious minority group members ostracizing members of the group for reporting intra-community criminal activity to the secular authorities, rather than letting community leaders deal with the matter. So, thank you for listening, and in particular many thanks to my patrons, Ian Palin and Tricia Williams. If you like these videos, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. I'll try to answer any questions you may have about them in a future video. If you want to support the development of the channel, you can do so through Patreon or PayPal. I'll give details below the video. You can also click the like button so that I can get an idea of which videos our greatest interest to viewers. Next week we'll talk about values. Thank you. Have a good day.